Hey, what are you doing there? In the middle of the night, I woke up and stepped out into the hallway, dotting my overnights. It's January now, and it's freezing outside with snow falling. Yet there was my blooded wife shivering in the hallway. Hey, why are you sleeping here? You'll catch a cold, you know? I'm fine, sister-in-law. It's something I always do. Something you always do? My sister-in-law smiled, looking troubled, with her nose all red. Her condition clearly showed that everything was not okay. Seeing that my anger erupted, I couldn't forgive it. To impose such a life on her, who had come into our family with so much kindness. Understanding everything, I immediately took action. To make the instigator of this viewing aware of our actions. My name is Maggie, 32 years old. I'm just an ordinary office worker. I'm not married, but I have a fiancé, and our relationship is great. Bobby, my fiancé, has already proposed to me. Now, all that's left is introducing him to my parents. Bobby is a lawyer and currently dealing with a major case. We both have the desire to visit each other's families, but the timing just doesn't seem to work out. We decided to wait until he settles down with his work before visiting my parents. Now, on one particular day, just before the new year, Bobby called the fool. Since we weren't living together yet, I didn't catch it, but this meant we couldn't spend New Year's together. Bobby apologized over the phone with a hint of regret in his voice. I'm sorry, Maggie. We promised to spend it together. It can't be helped. The fool has been going around lately. Besides, Bobby, you've been really busy, right? It's probably just exhaustion catching up with you. You think so? Man, I feel so pathetic. I hadn't caught a cold in a while. Anyway, take your time to rest. If there's anything you need, I'll buy it for you. Can you get me a few days' worth of food? Like jellies and stuff? Sure, I got it. I'll buy them right away and bring them over. I gathered the requested items from the supermarket and headed to Bobby's apartment. We only spent a few seconds together, being careful not to transmit the fool, but seeing his condition put me at ease. However, without him, all my plans for the year-end and the New Year's would fall apart. That's why I decided to go back home to my parents' place for the first time in a while. Mom, I hope you are doing well. We occasionally keep in touch, but it's been about 3 years since I last visited, right? I used to live at home until 3 years ago. The reason I left home was because I got transferred to the headquarters where I work now. Back then, our family consisted of me, Mom, Will, and Will's wife, Becca. My father passed away when I was still a student, so I've been taking care of the household chores ever since. Mom has never been good at housework, and when Dad was around, he took care of it all. If my transfer got approved, I would have to leave home. Until now, I could manage the housework because I was there, But with the transfer and the distance from home, it wouldn't be easy for me to help Mom anymore. That's why I was so relieved when Becca married into our family. With Becca around, I can trust that Mom will be taken care of. Will is also there, so maybe I don't need to worry so much anymore. Becca is a very friendly and cute woman with a smiling face. Even as her sister-in-law, she always greets me with a smile. Welcome back, sis. Dinner is ready, but would you like to take a bath first? I think I'll take a bath first today. I've been sweating. Understood. I'll have dinner prepared by the time you are out of the bath then. Thank you, Becca. Coming home from work and seeing you always brings me comfort. You are being too kind. I'm also really happy to have a kind sister-in-law like you. I honestly don't know if she means it or not, but I do like Becca, who looks up to me like a real sister. That's why leaving home came with a certain sense of loneliness. I entrusted her with the care of Mom and Will, and with a heavy heart, I left home. Thanks to Becca, I can live without worrying about my family even after the transfer. With gratitude in my heart, I bought plenty of souvenirs and returned home for the new year. But as soon as I arrived, I felt a sense of unease. Was our garden always like this? I remember there used to be lots of beautiful flowers planted in the garden when I was here. But for some reason, whether it's the season or because it's snowing, I can't see any flowers. I should have planted cold resistant flowers like violets and pansies. Despite the unease, I pressed the intercom button. Immediately, the door opened and my mother appeared. Maggie, welcome home. It's been a while. Mom, I'm back. How have you been? Of course, dear. You've been working hard, haven't you? Well, yeah, but I have a fewer overtime hours now, and the benefits are great. It's a very comfortable workplace. That's good to hear. I've been worried since you got transferred to the headquarters and really came back. Sorry, I bought a lot of souvenirs, so forgive me. With such playful banter, we headed towards the living room when I made eye contact with my brother Will, who was playing video games. As soon as Will saw my face, his expression brightened up. Hey sis, long time no see. It's been a while for you too, Will. Are you still playing games as always? Sis, do you want to play too? This new game is super fun. Sigh, you are such a helpless little brother. As my brother and I exchanged words, our mother smiled happily. But my relief from the long-awaited family gathering was short-lived as I noticed Becca was nowhere to be seen. Hey, where's Becca? Upon hearing those words, my mother and brother exchanged glances. After a moment of silence, Will immediately put on a smile. Oh, Becca, she's probably cleaning somewhere. Cleaning? But it's New Year's Day today, isn't it? Look, I heard that you were coming today, sis. She's obsessed with cleanliness, you know. You don't have to worry about that. Well, She wants to do it, so just let her. Let's take it easy. As if following Will's lead, my mother also smiled and agreed. But for some reason, I couldn't shake off my concern for Becca, so I decided to look for her. After about 5 minutes, I found Becca cleaning in the back hallway. Becca, as I called out to her, she flinched and turned around with a worried expression. "Oh, sister-in-law, it's been a while. How have you been?" "Oh yes, thanks to you." "Becca, I appreciate your help with the cleaning, but it's New Year's Day. Why don't you take a break from chores for a while? I bought lots of souvenirs, you know." "Well, but it's fine. Come on, let's relax together, okay?" I took Becca's hand, who had a troubled expression, and somewhat forcefully led her to the living room. For a moment, it felt like the atmosphere was tense, but I didn't pay much attention to it at that time. Afterwards, we spent a leisurely time together, watching TV and enjoying New Year's dishes, including Becca. That night, after a long time, I laid out often on the tatami floor and fell asleep. Perhaps it was because it had been a while since I stayed at my parents' house, or because I wasn't used to the unfamiliar futon, but I suddenly woke up. When I checked my smartphone, it was 2:30 in the middle of the night. As I went downstairs to get some water, I couldn't believe my eyes. Becca? "Oh, sister-in-law." "Wait, what are you doing there?" It was no wonder I was surprised. She was shivering in the hallway without even a blanket on. I immediately rushed to Becca and gently rubbed her shoulders and back. "Hey, why are you sleeping here? You'll catch a cold." "I'm fine, sister-in-law. It's something I always do." Something you always do? This is my daily life. I'm okay. So please get some rest, sister-in-law." "What are you talking about? There's no way I can do that." I took Becca's hand and led her to my room. Then we got into bed together, and I warmed her body. Even with blankets and futons covering her, Becca's body continued to shiver. But gradually, the trembling subsided, and we reached a state where we could have a calm conversation. Seizing the right moment, I cautiously brought up the topic. "Hey, Becca, what's going on? Why were you sleeping in such a cold place?" "Well, did Will say something to you, or maybe Mom?" "So it's something those two said to you after all. But why?" "It's my fault. I'm a failure as a daughter-in-law. A disappointment." Then Becca slowly began to explain the circumstances. It seems that her relationship with her mother hasn't been good since she got married. Back then, it was still tolerable because I was there, but after I left, it became a living hell for her. Her mother constantly made sarcastic remarks, and even when she sought help for her brother, he wouldn't assist her. On top of that, her brother joined in and verbally abused Becca, making her do all the household chores every day. It was natural for them to hurl insults at Becca. At the worst times, they would slow things or deprive her of meals, pushing her to the edge. As I listened to everything, my body trembled with anger in stark contrast to her trembling from the cold. It's unimaginable that such a kind girl would endure such bullying as a daughter-in-law. They took advantage of my absence and relentlessly threatened Becca. It's not something adults should do. There's no way I can just leave things as they are. The next day, I called my mother and brother, who had just woken up, to the living room. As a precaution, I started the voice recording on my smartphone and began the conversation. "Mom, Will, what are you two up to?" In response to my words, they looked at me with puzzled expressions. "What's the matter? Why all of a sudden?" Staring firstly at Will, who was smirking, I continued speaking. "Don't what's the matter? Becca was laying down shivering in the hallway last night, remember?" "Oh, that thing, it's no big deal." "What do you mean, that thing? Are you talking about Becca?" "She's able to live thanks to my income and this house that Mom owns, right? Even though she's just a freeloading maid, it's audacious of her to sleep on often, don't you think?" "What are you saying?" Almost about to report, my mother interjected from the side. With a contemptuous smile, my mother began speaking as if it were only natural. "That girl, you know, she's not good at household chores and lacks efficiency. Yet I've let her stay in this house as a daughter-in-law. She should be grateful." "Wait, are you serious about that?" It's something wrong? Just be glad I haven't kicked her out. She has no family and nowhere to go if she's thrown out of this house. Besides, she's unemployed." "What's that? Saying things like that? Tormenting Becca." "Tormenting her? How absurd." Both Will and I simply assigned her the role of a daughter-in-law. Well, more like a slave, to be honest. While my mother spoke, my brother burst into laughter, clapping his hand. Meanwhile, Becca quietly shed tears. I couldn't bear it any longer, so I took Becca's hand and led her out into the hallway, and then, "Pack your things immediately," I said, starting to prepare to leave the house. My mother and brother paid us no mind, happily watching TV together. In that moment, we took the opportunity, stepped out of the front door, and got into the car. "Becca, is that all your luggage?" All she had in her hands were 2 tote bags. Realizing that she had been given so little to fit in just those bags, it felt like my heart was about to burst. Upon returning home with Becca, I spent the next few days with her. When I explained the situation to my fiancé Bobby, he was visibly angry. "What the hell is this?" Excuse my language, but Maggie's brother and mother are despicable. Absolutely, there are no words. I can't believe Becca has been suffering like this for the past 3 years after I left. I could represent her in court since I was as a lawyer, but it might create a perceived conflict of interest. So, this time, let's seek help from another attorney. We have many competent lawyers in our firm, and I can refer you to a divorce specialist. Yes, please. With Bobby's assistance, I accompanied Becker to the lawyer's office. The recorded voice memos I had taken and Becker's visibly worn-out state served as evidence, allowing us to file for divorce on the ground of domestic violence. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived at my parents' house. Becker's phone was constantly bombarded with calls from her mother and brother. Seeing Becca trembling in fear, I reassured her, saying, "It's going to be okay." I took her phone gently into my hand. "Hello?" In place of Becca, I answered a call from her brother, and he immediately erupted in a fit of anger. "Hey, what the hell have you done? Becca's there, right? Let me talk to her." "No way. Becca doesn't want to talk to you." "What? Don't mess with me. We're about to get divorced, you know?" "That's your own fault, isn't it?" "What? Anyway, this is our problem. It has nothing to do with my sister." Taking advantage of the situation, in the background, I could hear my mother getting agitated. Exactly. She was clearly furious at Becca for seeking help from a lawyer and at me for assisting her. I couldn't let this continue any longer. With determination, I firmly declared putting an end to the family relationship. "This is ridiculous. How far will you go to belittle people? Becca isn't your slave. How could you do something like this to the person who married you? Why don't you realize how despicable your actions are?" "Shut up, we are the ones providing for her." "What, providing for her? Then why does Becca have so few personal belongings? Why is she so worn out? It's all because of what you've pushed her into. You've driven Becca to this point. I recommend divorcing before things get even worse. If you don't accept it, be prepared because I'll crush you slowly." She shuts into the phone almost screaming. As she's about to hang up, Becca takes the phone and takes a deep breath. "I won't be controlled by you anymore. I'll fight till the end." She finally declares and hangs up the call. After ending the call, Becca has the most relieved expression I've ever seen. "Thank you, sister-in-law. I'll do my best." "Becca, yes, let's do our best. I'll support you until the end." "Yes." After some time had passed, Becca and my brother finally divorced. The news of Becca leaving spread throughout the neighborhood, and both my mother and my brother's reputation took a nosedive. Since my brother's workplace was right near our family home, rumors spread like wildfire. Now, my mother can't even go outside, and my brother finds it difficult to go to work, repeatedly taking unauthorized absences. It's only a matter of time before he gets fired. But I have no sympathy for them. It's all the result of their own actions. On the other hand, after that incident, I sheltered Becca at my home for a while. During that time, She found a job and now lives alone in a small apartment. Becker and I still meet regularly to update each other on our lives. From now on, we intend to continue our relationship not as sisters-in-law, but as ordinary friends.